Hi, everybody. We are here today with Alan Steinfeld of New Realities. New Realities is an awesome YouTube channel that Alan started interviewing spiritual people, all kinds of spiritual people. And he's done how many interviews, Alan?
Well, there's about 2,000, 1,800 on YouTube, and I have many, many more I haven't even put on YouTube. I've been doing this since 95?
Yeah.
25 years, 24 years.
So Alan's kind of a staple in the spiritual interview world, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it so I can do interviews. I mean, the truth is I'm doing it so I can know, find out, learn more, evolve. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it and for sharing it with other people, but it's not like I wanted to do interviews. I wanted to just find out what people know, and it ended up being interviews.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome way to do it, because then you're also sharing it with the world.
Yeah, and figured, well, yeah, why not share this? I mean, I've always been interested in knowledge and knowing and learning. So we're in a renaissance of spirituality, I think.
I think so too.
And it's fun to just kind of compare all the different ways of knowing and being.
So I have to ask what the silver thing is that you're sitting with.
It's my spaceship. I just landed on planet Earth. I can get inside of this, you know.
I want to come.
Sure, I'll pick you up on the way.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks a little weird, but I don't know.
It doesn't look weird.
Sometimes it doesn't look weird. It looks
no. I was just curious.
No, because sometimes actually, if it's a little, it is my sauna, my far infrared sauna that, you know, I had a dream that I would have a sauna in my house apartment, and I didn't know how that would look, and then I saw these like one-person saunas that you could fit in the corner. I may not have the big place, and I just said, wow. And they're great. They're as good as any sauna, better than the big wooden ones. You know.
Wow.
So if anyone listening wants one, just email me.
Okay.
realities@earthlink.net. I'll give them a deal on that.
All right, we'll put a link to that.
But they're really great. They're really great for detoxing, and they keep me warm in the winter if I'm enough heat or if it's a little too cold. I just sit in my sauna.
That's awesome.
I won't put it on now because it makes a noise, but basically, yeah, come over. You know, have a little sauna bath.
I love that idea.
Yeah, no, they're great. So what should we talk about? What do you want to know?
Well, I just want to say that I met Alan. We met through my spiritual teacher, Danny Castro, about 20-ish years ago. I don't remember exactly.
Through Elliot Eisenberg. You remember Elliot?
Elliot, yes.
He's still around somewhere in San Francisco. Anyway, I knew him, met him through somebody, and he said he had this teacher, Danny Castro, and we actually all went out to Elliot's father's place, who was an old-time psychologist in Queens. Were you there? No, I don't think you were there.
I don't think I took that trip, no.
Because you were off, you know, with your movie stars.
That was my dating my movie stars phase.
Right, and I remembered someone who did that, but I didn't think it was you when I re-met you 20 years later. I thought,
right.
Did you know that woman?
So we met because I looked a lot different. So we met again. I don't know when, 5 years ago, 7 years ago.
You look a lot different than you do 20 years ago. I don't. Do you?
Well, I don't know. I've aged.
Well, but with this makeup in this video, you sort of look the same.
Right, because you always see me without makeup.
Right, and now although when I met you, you probably wore makeup, and so that's why you look more like that person then.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, I didn't really know that well. I think it was just like a few moments here and there.
And then we reconnected at Abdi, I think, in New York City.
With that Val. With Val? Yes, with Val.
Val Fignini and Abdi, and we were at an Abdi event, and you looked familiar to me.
Right. I don't know how we got on to Danny Castro.
I do. I remember because we all went out to eat afterwards, and you and I were talking.
Yes.
and we hadn't connected, and we were talking about gurus, and I had told you about my one guru, and then I said, well, I have another guru.
Oh, yes.
He's in Santa Fe, and you said, who is he? And I said, oh, you won't know him. He has a very small following. You're like, no, who is he?
Right.
And I said,
right.
Danny Castro, and you said, oh, remember?
Yeah, I don't remember saying oh, but I do like remember that moment. Yes.
And then you even pulled up the interview on your phone.
That's right. I have an interview if people want to see with Danny Castro.
Yeah, I'll make a link to that.
And he has something special. I mean, everyone I seek out has something, but they have something unique. And Danny has almost a non-personal perspective, you know? I mean, he could just drop into something. And in this interview I do with him, he goes, this India, this thing, is like talking in a very abstract sort of way from a kind of Advaita type thing without calling it anything like that, you know.
That's true. And
does he still have that perspective? Is who he still is?
Yes.
I haven't seen him in a while. So
the cool thing about Danny is he's always open to changing his perspective. Because he's always looking and he's always revisiting. I think it's awesome. And the way he talks, it's funny because a lot of people can't understand him.
Just adjusting my...
Okay.
Because the way he talks is what you say?
A lot of people don't understand him.
I think it's amazing. I think it's great.
I think he's brilliant.
It's actually easier to understand because he kind of gets out of the way, and he's almost like a channel, but I don't think he would I wouldn't really call it that, but he's tapped into something. He is.
And so I talk to him every Sunday, and we were talking about something.
Is that a group call you're with him on? Mm-hmm. Oh, I should do that sometime.
I would love to have you.
Ask him if he remembers me.
What?
Ask him if he remembers me.
Okay, I will. So I think actually they're going to start putting those talks out on a podcast. They've been talking about that.
I interviewed him in Washington Square Park, sitting on a bench there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe I'll do some interviews with him if he's willing.
Yes.
That would be nice. So
what do you want to know?
I
was looking at the pictures behind you, Nityananda and Babaji, right?
Very good.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else knows who they are.
Well, of course. There's a real life-size statue of Nityananda. There's two of them in upstate New York, you know?
Oh, it's which ashram? The Walden?
There's one in Big Indian, and there's one at the South Fallsburg ashram.
Right. Okay.
Type statues of Nityananda.
Oh, that makes my whole innards just went, woo! The Shakti just got activated.
Wow, you are very
just by saying that.
Really, you're incredibly sensitive.
I'm incredibly sensitive to that lineage. Yes.
I never really connected with that lineage. I mean, I like them, sort of. I mean, I don't really know them. I mean, I was with Guru. I met Guru Mai once, but very pretty. But I didn't get the Shakti from her.
Well, that's not my connection. Really starts with Baba. And
not from Muktananda,
but from Muktananda and Nityananda.
Oh, I never really connected with Muktananda. Although I was in someone's apartment once who had this Kundalini awakening, and there were pictures of Muktananda on the wall that started to animate. Like the face in the photograph started to change because it was like this vortex going on there.
People see both of them in the room when I give Shaktipat.
Really?
People that can see. One guy who had never been to anything like that before, I had both of their pictures behind me. He couldn't see them. And he said, when I moved aside, he saw the photographs, and he said, oh my gosh, I saw both of those beings in the room.
Wow.
Before I saw their photo.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I have a strong connection.
But
anyway.
No, but I think that goes to what I sort of also wanted to talk to you about with Shakti. And I mean, we had talked about that. And what was I going to? Oh, a person who I feel a lot of Shakti from is Amma. That Amma, the hugging guru. I do feel her Shakti, like a real blissed out Shakti when I get hugged. And sometimes in the room, although the further back I am from her, the less I feel it. Feel like I'm right in that field, like really close. It's like it has degrees of activity going on.
The Shakti is getting stronger and stronger as we're speaking. This is really interesting.
Really? That's good. Let it happen. I love the building of Shakti. No, let it take you. Thank you. And I have to say, I was also hanging out with our friend Val on Shasta. She got a huge Shakti download on Mount Shasta.
Oh.
Val has a lot of Shakti. She really does.
She does. She has an amazing awakening story.
She does. And in moments, it really comes through where she's totally in the divine bliss.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So
this is Val Tignini we're speaking of.
Yeah, and she's doing work with that. I think it's still more coming into her. So, I guess there's a Shakti awakening happening on the planet. I think that's
Absolutely.
A transformation.
Absolutely.
Most people have no idea what we're talking about, too, I
know. So this is something, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about today because I'm going to close my eyes and let the energy come through. And it might be this exact thing. Okay. But Alan and I also talked about having kind of a series on this where we actually talk about the Kundalini and different aspects of it.
I would like to do that. Actually, if you come into the studio in New York, we could do a series. We could do it also with people like Val, people who are, and we can, Skype your friend Tim in from India, and we could do, that would be interesting because I can't say I understand it. I feel it. I don't know if anyone understands it.
Exactly.
But something sort of miraculous. It really is a manifestation of the divine in a way that, everyone says everyone's divine, everything's divine, but this is the presence.
Pure divinity.
Yeah, when the Shakti comes through. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And it's very exciting. I mean, it's incredibly exciting.
And it's exciting to see so many people having awakenings.
Yeah, I feel it in your body now, isn't it?
It's so strong right now.
I feel it. You can hardly talk. No, I love it. I'm feeling it off of you. That's good. Let it come. I think it's really beautiful, actually. I'm feeling you there.
Yay.
It's an emanation.
Well, let's see what the Shakti wants to say.
Sure, go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. So, Alan, we're enjoying your presence today.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to tell us about your own story? Anything that pops into your mind about your own awakening, blessings?
Yeah, well, I feel in a way, not to sound too ego-centered, but I came in born with awareness, in a sense, because of my last lifetime, which was not a picnic. Did I ever tell you about my last lifetime in the concentration camps in Germany, Poland?
Please do.
And no, like I said, it wasn't really a lot of fun, but there was a conscious leaving there. I said, this doesn't seem like it's going anywhere because it was all those dead bodies. And it was just really awful.
Right.
This is what I remember anyway. I'm just telling you. I'm sort of, I wouldn't say making it up, but it's not a memory like, oh, this happened yesterday, but it's vague. It's in there. It's a feeling sense. So I'm just creating a story about what I'm feeling. But anyway, I left that existence consciously, and then I sort of came in to this realm with an awareness of awareness. Like I always had this kind of removed perspective on the sense that I was the observer of the reality. I wasn't maybe it's because my mother was sort of hysterical. I had to remove myself from those realms, but I always felt outside the human drama.
Right.
And that may have been a holdover, but I also had this awareness of consciousness, even back to like 2 years old, sort of the earliest I can remember. I remember like running and all of a sudden stopping in front of this wall thing. And I said, wow. I said this like at 2. Why did I stop? What was it? It was like this greater sense of being was bigger than the local mind or something, if you want to.
Mm.
So spirituality, all this stuff is just an extension of everything. I mean, people call it spirituality, but that's sort of like ridiculous because it's
right.
everything.
Right.
You know, it's existence as a spiritual manifestation. I mean, here we are in this earth bodies, and that's a miracle, and it's all a miracle. But anyway, I came in with that awareness of something bigger. But then when
let me ask a question. Because we're feeling a flow of energy from that last life into this life, like it was just a big flow.
Yeah.
So do you feel that stepping into a new body allowed you to awaken more to what your path is?
Absolutely. Well, it was hard to awaken in that lifetime because what do you do with it in the concentration camp? I mean, I guess some people did, but I think I needed that new perspective to, wash it all clean and keep that observing consciousness in a way, in a new time, in a new time flow that was opened and welcome to this evolution, revolution that we're all a part of right now, that we're creating, me, you, and all these other people we're talking to. So,
and do you think that massive destruction that was happening then led into this? What's happening now?
The destruction was, I think, as dark as it has ever gotten on the planet. World War II, the massive, and I think that was the lowest. There probably were a lot of other low points, but that low point led to the baby booms of the 60s and 70s, 80s, and this new resurgence of an evolved consciousness that now is happening. Well, since the 60s, really, and then accelerated in the 80s, and now another wave of acceleration. So, yeah, I think there was lessons in that dark times that we were all a part of. I'm sure you were too. And so there's an owning on an emotional level of that awfulness in human dramas, behaviors. It's like, okay, doesn't get any. I mean, that's just as bad as I think it can get, like the Nazis and all those awful things that were so unconscious.
So do you think that because you came into that lifetime pretty conscious as well, that you're not karmically tied to that as much as some
I
other?
didn't come into that consciousness that World War II concentration camp lifetime. I didn't come into it that conscious, but I think because of the trauma of that experience and the awareness and something led to an awakening of that consciousness. I awoke in a sense in that, massive destruction to something other that we all are. So that, and then I brought that into this lifetime as, it's all a continuation, but that was like that awakening in a sense. So that's why, well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
The work that you're doing now is just so conscious and so aware, and so many people are aware of the work that you're doing. Do you feel that you're opening up in the way that you had wanted to? Is there more?
Well, I may seem aware and all that, but I feel like I'm not as aware as I could be. I mean, I'm just working on it. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, I go unconscious. I have, you know, outbursts of something, you know, I do something stupid. I mean, you know, whatever. But what was the question? So
Do you feel at this point that you're doing the work that you intended to do? Or is there more?
Well, I think we all are in a way. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a lot more than just interviewing. I'm writing, I'm lecturing.
Can you tell us about what you're writing?
I'm writing about what I feel is the next phase of our evolution. You know, Deepak Chopra, who I just interviewed, said, you know, consciousness is the totality of existence. And I'm saying, not to Deepak, but in this writing, that consciousness just got bigger. It just, existence just got bigger. And you know how it got bigger? With the contact with extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call these interdimension, these beings that are beyond the human drama. Let's just call it that.
Okay.
You know, I'm looking at you, you're human, you had a mother, father, you eat, sleep, do all those things. When you meet these beings, there's an orientation to something else. They're not, their vibrational field is not human. It's not us. It's different. And that is so, well, at first it's frightening and traumatizing, I have to say. It's freaky. It's what would I say? It's
for you personally? It was for you
personally. Yes. For what I remember, it's a distortion. It's like two different vibrations coming together, and I think they're at a higher vibration in a sense. Some of them, and they're pulling our field to that vibratory rate. And what happens is we go unconscious. We can't stay lucid in that realm.
Until we adjust.
To what?
Until we adjust.
Until we adjust, but we can't adjust from the old human place. That's the thing.
Okay.
We have to find it's a new level of lucidity of being of consciousness, if that makes sense. It's like, and I figured, why are they so different than us vibrationally? I think it has to do with and this is just my own theory, the sun, their sun, whatever sun that is, holds a different vibrational field than our sun. And it's like, we get along with the animals here and probably other solar beings, but when you meet different star systems, the frequencies are just different. And there's like a clash of frequencies there.
Oh, okay.
That's how, and so because we, in a way, are not as evolved, because we live on the surface of our vibrational sphere, they have a lot more of this depth of being. You know, it's like they can move in and out of our sphere, but we can't really move in and out of their sphere. So we are learning to adjust to that. So that's sort of what I'm writing about. How do we start to adjust to a bigger vibrational field that's so new and so different than anything we have ever known within the human drama? So yes, we can be in concentration, World War II, you know, all that, but it's all part of this very human realm, including love and joy and all those things. But then there's something else that is unrelatable to within the old context of those lives we've had. Of course, we've probably been ETs on other lives, but what we're trying to do now is upgrade the human field of energy to meet the other in a way where we can both stay equal, both stay present.
It's really reminding me of an interview I just saw with Joe Dispenza and Lilou Mace.
Yeah.
where he finally discusses these beings that come in the room when they're doing healings.
Oh, does he? Because I've known Joe for 30 years.
Right.
After school.
Well, they've been talking about these beings for years, but he's never actually, this is the first interview where he talks about it. And that's what they told him, that they can only approach people if they're at a certain frequency. So his job is to raise the vibration so that they can come in and work with the people.
Oh, I should talk to Joe about that. I can't believe he never talked to me about it.
I think this is the first time he talked about it publicly.
Because I've known Joe for, that was actually my awakening in this lifetime, being part of the Ramtha school. That reminded me when I went, that was the spiritual teaching I was a part of in 1981, was seeing this channel being.
Now, was that being from another realm? Would you consider that being that came through from another realm like that?
Another realm? What do you mean by realm?
Like the ETs or whatever you want to call them that are coming in.
Ramtha being from another realm? Ramtha was more Atlantean, Lemurian. I mean, I think that's more, in a way, Earth-based realms than ETs.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's all the same or different. Yeah, but I think Ramtha was an ascended being from a higher frequency, but still part of the human field, or the bridge to these other fields of reality, you know.
And how old were you when you started with?
I was around 30-something. Yeah, I don't know. So what was that?
20s or something?
What's that?
In your 20s or something?
Late 20s, maybe. I was looking for a spiritual teacher.
Oh, okay.
I was looking around the early 80s. This was the early 80s. And I didn't want to follow a guru because I wasn't interested in dogma, following somebody's ego. So I wanted a teacher that I didn't have to follow, but that would give me teachings.
Right.
So I met Ramtha, channeled through this woman who, she certainly didn't want people following her around. And Ramtha would say, if you want to follow me when I leave this place. Okay. Because he was channeled through.
Right.
In a way, I grew up with channeling as a sort of, I mean, it took me 2 years because I was coming from a psychological perspective after college, everything. So if someone said they were a 35,000-year-old warrior from Atlantis, you know, I just think that was part of a delusional psychological makeup.
Right.
And that's the problem. We are trapped by our understanding of psychology. So if you're getting these rushes of energy, it's probably all a fabrication that is delusional. That's the psychological paradigm. Until you realize, and I'm not putting down psychology because it's great, it's got its place, but then there's something beyond psychology. It's like there's like, I often say this in my classes. I teach adult education classes on consciousness, and I say, well, if you thought all you had on your computer was something that was put there and you didn't know about the internet, then you'd be surprised when new information appeared that came from someplace else. Right. So it's like that. We're connected to this non-local awareness, which is sort of the channel state in a way. That makes sense to you. So that was an awakening. And then Joe was part of the Ramtha school. I knew him back then, and he was, you know, he was a great student. He started teaching back then in the Ramtha school, so I know Joe. But now he's taken to a whole other level. I think Joe's a great teacher.
I agree. I think he's a really great teacher.
He is. But anyway, I'm surprised to hear about it, because I would ask him about these beings in interviews. Oh, let's not talk about this.
I think so many people are talking about it now that can't really keep it hush-hush anymore. I think that's what's happening.
Well, yeah, I think people are talking about it now. So, but I would just ask you a question. How do you think the ETs connect to the divine state, like the state of flow, of Shakti you're feeling? Is there a relationship there, or is there not?
Of course there is. The relationship between the divine beings of light in all realms are the same, right?
But some of them are very technical, intellectual. I mean, I guess they're beings of light, and so, but they have more of a collective soul presence than our individualized being.
So are you asking about their actual connection to the divine as opposed to
Yes,
connection?
I am asking that. What is their actual connection? Of course, there's many, but let's just take the grays, the little grays.
Okay, so if we were to have a perspective on an individual, just take any individual being, we would know that that individual being is either completely revealed in their divinity or they've been diminished to a state where their divinity is pretty much covered over, right?
Right.
For any individual being.
Yes, yes.
So if you take beings from other realms, is that a separate identity or is that the same?
Well, are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, let me give you another piece of information, is that I would dream about these beings. And one time I was taken in a dream to what I would call the Ancient One. The Ancient One is sort of like you get that? Are you getting that when you're picking up the Shakti of that? It's like the divine mother of these ET races. Okay. Very, very old beings that I would say is ensouling, manufacturing and then ensouling, like delivering souls in a sense to these cloned ETs, and which is also why they need our genetics, because our DNA actually is soul containers.
Okay, so what you're referring to is a race of beings that is not as high of a consciousness as the beings that we would be like to be connecting with, preferably.
Right, but what about the divine mother essence of this Ancient One? What do you get from that?
The divine mother is the divine mother of all beings and all things, right?
Right. But
so
what
if
about
the divine mother essence of these beings has come to you as the divine mother form in your dream, who is she to you?
Well, we're collaborating on genetic experiments in a way.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm even saying that, really. That's what came to me right now to say. I don't know if that's even true, but yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, we know that what's happening right now with genetics is highly evolving, right?
Right.
So how would that be if the genetics of the human race are highly evolving right now? We can actually see that happening. If we took ourselves 20 years ago and we came today, we can see that the genetics within each being around us has highly evolved, right?
Right.
So some of us don't recognize that, but the more conscious of us can very much recognize what's happening. And I think that we can also recognize that where is this coming from?
Uh-huh.
Right? Where is this awakening coming from? Where is
it coming from? I mean, I'm not sure what you mean. Where is it coming from?
Where is the evolution coming from?
Where?
Well, ultimately it's coming from the divine self, the inner being.
Right. But it's accelerating now. It's in a upgrade at this time. It has to do with the increase of Shakti on the planet, of course.
Yes, the Shakti is a direct relation to, so the conscious beings that are coming in now. So whatever conscious beings you choose to connect with, the conscious beings that are coming in now are all a part of this genetic, if you want to call it awakening, right? The gene expression, the evolution of consciousness, the evolution of beingness. So do you feel that as we're talking about it? Do you feel that energy?
I've been talking about this all day, actually.
But do you feel the energy rising? I
feel it in you, which is activating me, actually.
Right. So as we feel that, because wow. Anytime that we're conscious of it, anytime that we're aware of it, anytime that we are productively, actively allowing it to be a part of our system, it is awakening. It's just looking for a reason to be awakened, like this reason right now that we're speaking of it. Can you feel that?
I do feel it. I feel it through my chakra systems.
So, in our consciousness, in our realm of being, in our awakening, there's no separate realities.
Our, when you say that, our. When you say our realm.
the hour of the big consciousness, the hour of the big truth.
So you're saying, you're speaking as big consciousness now. I mean, it's okay. I'm just saying.
I'm speaking as the consciousness of all things, which we all are, right?
Right. Okay.
You are, which I am.
Right. So you're saying in this consciousness, that this awakening consciousness, what's happening?
From our perspective, there's no separation between the beings that are coming in to help us and the beings that we are.
Right.
Right. So we do connect with beings in higher realms. We do, but the realms that they're living in aren't any different than the realms that have left the earth plane, or like Siddhaloka, for instance, right?
And what is Siddhaloka?
Siddhaloka, where all the Siddhas live, right?
Oh, okay.
Heaven. There's all these different realms, all these different consciousnesses. So these beings that are coming in to help us now, that we may see as ETs or whatever we're referring to them as, are really just living in different realms of consciousness. But to us, it's all the same realm.
I get it. Well, yes, it's all the same realm to us, but I do think there's something to learn for us in those other realms.
Absolutely. So it's just like connecting in with a teacher of a higher realm. Why do you connect in with a teacher of a higher realm? Even a teacher that's come to this earth plane, but that's dwelling in a higher consciousness, why do we connect with them? Because by connecting with them, we're actually allowing our essence to become a part of their essence, and their essence to become a part of our essence, which is raising our vibration ultimately.
Which is why we're talking, me and you, right now.
Exactly.
Or to exchange essences, to feel the awakening of
and we seem to be going into higher and higher realms the more we speak of it.
Yeah, but and it's sort of the awakening of what's similar and different too. This is the balance of interaction, flow, conversation, discussion. It's like, it's an evolution. This is why I've talked to people for the last 25 years. So that mutual sharing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Can you talk about that more?
Well, no, I'm just thinking about that. And I'm saying, well, I really don't seem to have, I don't know. I guess I can't say I haven't learned anything, but it's like, on some level, so what? Here we are in this moment. I mean, all that's great. And yeah, okay, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe has added to everything, but here we are in this moment here.
Mm-hmm. But that feels important. All of the connections you've expanded into feel important in some way.
I mean, thank you for saying that, but I don't see it as not important. I don't see what you mean by important. I mean, I've just done it, but what makes it important?
It feels like the connections that you've made are going like this. Right?
Okay.
So that feels important in the evolutionary consciousness.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm just doing it as a vehicle because it's interesting for me to do. As Bashar would say, I'm following my highest excitement, you know, the entity Bashar. He says that's why we've incarnated here, to follow your highest excitement, your joy. And don't do it if it's not joyful. So you're doing that more. That's why I think more Shakti is freeing up in your body, because you've just cleared a huge space and you've allowed that space to be filled with more divine energy, as opposed to...
Yes, I've done a lot of clearing.
And so where that space was being filled up and blocked has now opened up into the power of your Shakti.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah, she's responding.
Right? You feel that? Such a big thing that was sort of just let go of, that emptiness is now being filled with divine essence.
Yes.
The void, which you had made space for because you were suspecting it was in the way of embodying more of what you're embodying now. So you're on a much clearer trajectory of being and consciousness and receivership. That's what I get for you. Yeah, right there. And all the ways into your body, right through you, right to the womb itself. That's where I'm feeling you're anchoring into that space, like expanding into the Shakti as it's kind of flowing through you, right through your crown. I'm feeling it. Right through you, filling you up and expanding you outward, yes.
Okay.
Are you okay?
That's happening.
Well, it's beautiful, actually, to see that.
Yeah, so
can you just take a moment? I don't mean to cut you off, but just feel the bliss for a second before you speak.
Feeling totally in bliss.
I feel it with you for a sec. Oh yeah, okay. Because when you start thinking,
Not
it's like
really in this world right now.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. I'm feeling it with you. Okay. Everyone watching is feeling it with you.
Yeah, okay, that's right. It's expanding.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to thank you.
I was doing a session Saturday, and we were brought into this other realm where there were all these higher beings. And at the end, someone who he's having trouble feeling a lot of energy. He said, so there were a lot of beings in the room with us? I'm like, no, they weren't in the room with us. We were in like it's a
exactly. That's where you're taking us. As I'm watching you there, you're actually taking me there. So you don't have to, I know it's your interview, but you don't have to think if you don't want to.
I'm just going to go into giddy bliss mode. No, it was interesting. Last week, I was telling Alan that I want to keep doing these interviews once a month, but I was completely not inspired to interview anybody except my son. And then all of a sudden it hit me, Alan, call Alan. So
well, thank you. Here we are.
Now I know why. Why?
To get into the bliss, right?
This is really good.
But that's a transmission. There's nothing to be said when you're filling the space with that. Talking is such a lower vibration than bliss, really.
It's true. There's not much to be said.
No.
I do these sessions, and afterwards I always say, does anybody have a question? And everybody's like, huh?
Yeah, because it's an experience you're giving us. Or this is happening, an experience. So you don't question experience. Are you in that room? That's an experience. It's not like, there's nothing to, we're here, we're incarnate, I believe, to have experience. So you're making available, and a lot of, I call them Shakti cases, are making available the...
call them what? Shakti what?
Shakti cases.
Cases.
Cases. People who have that kind of bliss.
Oh, I see. Case, like a
like a case. Like, they're allowing the divine more presence here on earth for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
However that happens.
Yeah, and so like we talked about, I think more and more people are opening up to that. Thank God.
Right, and I like to be in that presence.
Me too.
Well, you
want to be in that presence 100% of the time.
Well, then You can be. You're there already. You're it. You're in the presence.
And you're it.
No, you're it. Tag, you're it.
No, you're it. Okay, so.
But I feel it through you. I mean, it's activating, but yeah. I mean, I have access to that at some point, but I can notice it and feel that in what's happening over there.
Yeah, the divine is enjoying her play right now.
Yes.
Do you ever have the language come through? The
Light language?
Mm-hmm.
No, not necessarily. Mine's more visual.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's more like kinesthetic, sensing. I mean, I can do that, sort of.
You can tap into that energy.
Yeah, but it's not something so much that I resonate with so much. I'm just like, it's interesting, but I'm not really doing that. But I see it's very activated in some people, though.
Mm-hmm.
You and Val, and do you know Jody Sirota? Do you know her?
No.
She's in New York. There's a lot of people that have that activation.
Mm-hmm.
But what also comes through that I would like to ask you is, you're in the bliss realms, the grace realms, and then the ego personality is not that, right? It's separate from that.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I can definitely live, and this is getting less and less for me. But no, yes, I have that ego self that definitely lives in my everyday reality.
And does it have to? Oh, does it?
That's a good question, and that's something that I've been seeking that answer for a lot of years. So do you just...
Well, why don't you just, I'm not telling you what to do, but why don't you just try it? Living in that.
Right. And I would say, because I haven't cleared out all my junk yet.
So the junk keeps you in the ego realms, the egoic field.
Well, let's see. Consciousness has been telling me differently lately that I am in that realm all the time. But I can see, so, do you know when you see an old program drop in?
Mm-hmm. Drop in?
Mm-hmm.
When you see the programs drop in and you play it out?
Whatever it is, like say I walk out of this room, I'm in this high state of bliss. I walk out of this room and my ex-husband leaves a tissue on the floor, right? That's right. That old program that drops in.
Really? Just for a tissue, huh? Okay. All right, whatever. Okay. I guess that is a deep program.
So, my point being, to me, that's going, I'm into my ego self. But what consciousness is telling me lately that, no, you're more in this self.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm discovering that, Alan. It's a good question. It's something I'm discovering because I'm being shown that I am dwelling in the realm of consciousness. Danny would call it grace. When I talk to Danny about it, he says you're living in the grace now, or he says you're living in the Shanti now, like the Kai Shanti.
Yes.
You're living the Shanti now. You're not living in that other realm.
Right. Did he give you that name, Kai Shanti?
No, I gave myself that name.
Oh, you did. That's a nice name. I was called just Shanti. I was given a name by a teacher, Shanti Ram.
But this is supposed to be your interview.
Oh, no, we're just conversing. You can ask whatever you want. No, I mean, yes, ask me, but, it's always an exchange. But no, I'm open to anything you want to know.
I want to see if there's anything else.
But I'm just seeing, well, you and Val and Amma, you really drop into that. I don't really, in moments I drop into those bliss realms, but I don't know, maybe it's something about a female body or something. I think it might be easier. Although, what's his name? Tim.
Oh, I agree with you completely, Alan, because this is something I've really been noticing with people I'm working with lately.
What?
The feminine is so willing to go back into the old programs and emote and release and then drop into the bliss. And they'll go through all this in a 1 hour or 2 hour session, right?
Right.
They'll go into the crying and the releasing and then they're in total bliss and like a totally different place. And a man will be like, why do we have to go there? I don't want to go there. How is this relevant? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So then is the bliss realms related to the emotional capacities of the person?
I think it is in a way, because if you're willing to drop into the emotional state,
the feeling state.
Bliss is the highest emotion.
But what about our friend Tim? He seems to be in the bliss realms, right? In moments.
I can't answer for Tim.
Okay. I don't know either. I don't know him that well.
I can't answer for Tim. He definitely embodies the mother. I've heard him talk about bliss. It's hard to know, and because when someone embodies the mother, I think you're naturally in the bliss realm.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure.
No, I think you're right.
To ask him.
No, I think you're right. I think the mother is the bliss realms. I think that is bliss. I mean, joy. Someone says, actually, joy is our natural state. It's not actually an emotion. Like love isn't an emotion. It is who we actually are,
right,
when everything else is removed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an emanation of the true being, and everything else is ego-based.
So I guess I would see it like anyone who's willing to drop in to that state of total release, surrender, is more easily going to drop into that natural state of beingness.
Right. And women do that easier. They do have that surrender, in a sense, moment.
Most. Yeah, I would say most from my experience, but not all. Definitely.
No, not all. There's still a lot of... but it is sort of orgasmic, isn't it? In that bliss way?
It can be. I mean, and I would say it depends what, where the Shakti's working within the body. I mean, you can have orgasmic experiences here, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, Nityananda talks about the lingam in the head, the Shiva lingam in the head.
Oh, nice.
Which I think of as the pineal gland, because Dr. Joe talks about the pineal gland having this kind of release.
Right.
And so I think it's the same thing when the pineal gland releases. It's like orgasmic.
Right. So that is probably what's happening to you also when you go into those bliss states. You're releasing. Like when I did ayahuasca, I felt, because of that, whatever it is, serotonin buildup, that I felt a lot of bliss being released in that state. But I don't think we need to do those things to release the bliss. I mean, you're getting... And I recommend not doing that, because we need to save that chemical bio connection for this realm, in a way, to not remove it through some kind of altered induced experience, but to organically create that.
I like that. And organically integrate.
Yes, because you can't really integrate the drug experiences, the plant medicine, whatever you want to call those states, back into this realm.
I like that, Alan.
And that's my feeling. I don't know, maybe. I mean, in a way, I did do ecstasy once and opened my third eye, and I was able to integrate that psychic awareness back into this realm and still use that opening.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. Maybe, but I think if people, the more you do it, the less returns you get on it. So,
I mean, that was that was Ram Dass's whole thing.
yes.
He couldn't stay there. He couldn't maintain it. The same thing with my Shaktipat guru. He made acid. That's what he did in the 60s. But then his last acid trip, he heard a voice that said, drop the acid, go to India.
Uh-huh. Who was that? Would you don't want it to, I don't know. I don't think you've ever told me about that. But you could tell me later.
He'd probably like to stay anonymous, so I'll keep it that.
That's fine. So is he still around?
He is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, but so all these, but we've been in this realm, in this field, the spiritual kind of seeking field with so many teachers and
Yes.
and great experience, all that. But it does seem like something else is happening now.
It is. It is.
And what is that? It's kind of strange. It's new territory. It's something. What do you make of it?
I think that what's happening now is it's really an explosion, and there is not one person on this earth planet that is not going to be touched by it. Not one. Not one. So there's kind of this explosion of energy. So if everybody's feeling this energy in whatever way that they're feeling it, and they're having an explosion or a reaction within them, that's why all this crazy stuff is happening right now. So depending on who it's touching, it's going to react in the way that it's going to react. And so we're going to see all of this exploding, going on around us. But really, it's all this inner work that's happening.
Right. It's such strange times, isn't it?
Beautiful.
It's beautiful, but it's so unmapped, uncharted.
I love that.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's exciting, but you don't know what tomorrow's news will be, right? Or
Exactly.
or when the ETs will actually show up or whatever.
Exactly. And it's going to be much sooner than we think because we're so used to things rolling out in a certain way.
Right.
So we made this video a month ago about the climate change issue.
Right.
And people are really stuck to things happening, right? And they're stuck to this happened and that happened. But what they're not recognizing is that things are shifting so rapidly right now. One change of consciousness within one being can clear up one whole ocean like that. We can open the paper market. What?
Let's find that being to clear those oceans.
It's happening, though. It is happening. So we think there's this really huge problem, and the next day we open up the internet and there's a solution, or there's something that's been healed, there's something that's been cured. So the evolution that we're looking at right now, we have this mindset of the past where things are going to take a long time and it's scary and there are steps and everything's going to implode. That's not the way it's happening now, because if consciousness is evolving this quickly, then all the solutions to everything that look wrong are going to evolve just as quickly.
Yeah, I think we're in a great moment of awakening, planetary awakening. So
yeah,
just hope we don't destroy ourselves before we wake up. No, I think things look really good, and although it might not seem that way, but I do think there's like a whole other field that's just opening up for us. That's just going to be it's like discovering a new continent. That's where I think what's happening to us. And,
it's a whole new universe of light.
Yeah, and I think what you're feeling, the bliss realms are really part of that new continent. I think it's important what you're doing, actually.
And you.
I mean, I'm just doing what I'm doing. I mean, thank you for saying it's important, but I mean, I guess it is. I'm doing it, but I mean...
That's why we wanted to interview you, because you are you and an essence of yourself and the work that you're doing and the light that you're sharing and the beauty that you're spreading.
It is important. Is that what you're saying? Well, yeah, I'm connecting the dots. You know, it's all the same in some ways, whether I'm talking about UFOs or chakras or ancient civilizations or science, new science. It all, I'm not saying that's all the same, but it's all about stretching beyond the known into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring in what I call my show, new realities. Let's bring in the new possibilities because we know what the old possibilities are. We already know things. So in a way, that's why I don't talk about myself so much because I know who I am. I know what I know. I mean, if people ask me, that's great. I'll share. But maybe I'm just too out there looking, searching, but not really seeking, but looking. Connecting the dots, trying to make connections, trying to see how this is related to that. You know, taking two totally unrelated things and seeing that connection.
Yes.
That's an exercise I do for myself sometimes. Because it's all connected. We're just not seeing the connection.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I thought of a game show. You take these two unrelated objects and ask these questions to see how they're related.
I love it.
Comes up with the most creative way of that relationship.
Yeah, you have to get some really brilliant people on that show.
Well, everyone can do that. We do that all the time. I think we learn. The process of learning is an association. You're taking something and associating it with something new. And forging a connection to that. I mean, in a way, that's how Joe Dispenza works. He takes he takes the knowing that you can grow a new tooth or whatever, and then you take that knowing and you bring that knowing embodied, and then miracles happen.
Miracles happen.
So I think it's really exciting searching for miracles.
I do too.
And finding them.
I do too.
What's happening to you in your bliss realm is sort of miraculous, right? There.
It's just blissful.
But that's so different than how, 99% of the world lives in that.
So let's all be blissful.
Well, you just can't say it. It doesn't really translate.
I understand, but we aren't just saying it. You and I right now aren't just saying it. We're experiencing it. And by experiencing it, we're actually spreading that energy out. Right?
Okay.
I'm going to say, in conclusion, I love you. Thank you. This was awesome.
Wait, can you say in that bliss realm a little more? I'm just getting a little more transmission there.
You want me to do a little actual transmission?
Yeah, just stay there because you keep pulling yourself out of it and just like I think you have to talk. I mean, I know you're interviewing, but go ahead. If you don't mind, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. Now, do you feel the peace? Can you describe your body, your mind?
It's really interesting, Alan, because something about my connection with you expands the energy bigger.
Right.
Do you feel that?
I do feel it.
So I've always had that with you. There's something about our connection that it really grows the energy. Like somebody said, we're alien brothers and sisters.
Maybe. Yeah, we're from the same place somewhere. So yeah.
From the same light realm. The being, we just are beingness. There it is.
Well, I think we remind each other of that. That's why I'm feeling that as you go into that place.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Was that okay for you?
Yes.
Is there anything else you want? I didn't really answer your question so much, but
well, what I would enjoy is to maybe discuss doing this more, because I enjoy our interaction.
Right. Thank you.
And is there anything else?
Well,
when's your new book coming out?
As soon as my publisher publishes it. As soon as I can.
Very soon.
No, about a year maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably release articles and things like that. But yeah. But I mean, I'm not. Well, we'll see about a publisher actually.
What's the best way for people to connect with you?
Well, through my YouTube channel, youtube.com/New Realities is the. See my history of that, and it's been an exploration for me into new realms of possibility. This is what I want to share and open people up to, that there's something new inside all of us every minute. And one other thing, if you have just a little bit of time, I want to just say I've been studying the realms of dream time and teaching remote viewing. I've been teaching how to access right brain possibility. When you step out of the analytical mind and tap into the right brain and start to think from that, you start to be very intuitive, and you can start to see anywhere in time and space. It's really clear when you get out of all those dramas and all that personality. Everything is available, past, present, future. And I've been teaching that at places like Alex Gray's, and that's sort of part of our evolution too, this idea that we are connected to all time and all space. I mean, people have said that, but we actually have a facility in us to access that. So the Aborigines, I spent time in Australia with the Australian Aborigines, and they were also teaching me about dream time.
When was that?
What's that?
When was that?
That was about 3 years ago. Dream time is watching yourself fall asleep or even kind of meditating, and then images start to come to you that are not coming from what you know. You start to tap into this other world, and you're sort of connecting to the dimensions in your mind. So it's like an inner hallucination, but not really. They're being generated by an inner sight sensing, and you're tapping into these other worlds where you can ask questions, get answers, or just get new information. It's where art comes from. It's where music comes from. This is the dream time landscape. And there's also a regeneration of the body when you go into those states. It's a kind of like what sleep does, but it's even more regenerative because you're bringing those realms here. Somehow, I don't know why it's good for the body, but it is. I mean, it's a deep relaxation, and it's like you are infusing it maybe with God consciousness. Maybe that's a way of looking at it. So that's just something I'm doing and teaching remote viewing, teaching people how to access these other realms through your own consciousness, because
it's an experiential process.
Yes, every night we do it. But if we can stay awake in the dream time, then it expands our creativity, and then we can remote view, then we can do lots of things. And when you can lucidly do that, this is what Ramtha did in his lifetime, when you can actually go out of body, project. When you do that enough times, you start to build the body double. This is what the Taoists also talk about. And you start to build what's called the immortal body, the rainbow body, the ascension body. And this is the process.
Is that the body that Babaji lives in?
I think it is the body Babaji lives in.
I've always been interested in that.
You can appear and disappear whenever you want, and go to different planes of existence, because you have control over those realms. But it has to do with an inner awareness that's then brought out. Instead of the outer awareness brought in, we're bringing the inner awareness out.
Mm-hmm.
And creating a light field that then generates another level of awareness. The Casanadic tradition called it the Nagual, the third attention. So traditions that have had these, but it's about doing the work. I think in the bliss realms, you're actually doing that. If you can hold that space long enough without thinking it's weird or whatever snaps you out of it, then you are starting to build your bliss body, which becomes substantiated light. You know, the auric field, which is the light field, starts to solidify almost, but dimensionally solidify. So you then can pass into realms and take.
So then you're consciously doing it. You're not watching consciousness do it.
Well, who's watching? I mean, you're not consciously doing it as an ego thing. You're doing consciously, although you can generate that with enough discipline to, I don't know.
Well, here's a for instance. So usually when I go to when I do sessions, we go into a higher realm.
Right.
But I'm witnessing it. I'm witnessing consciousness taking me to a higher realm. But I'm not setting the intention of I want to go to this place or I want to go to that realm.
Oh, well, you could. That's the play of consciousness. You could set your intention to that. That's that fine edge between ego and non-ego where you decide what it is that you want to do. And you could just let it come to you, which is great. Or you can stay like 1% present enough to say, let's send it there or go there or do this. You know, it's like, it's very subtle, but there's a level of ego non-attachment.
Right.
That you can direct the action. But that's more Western in a way. The Indians just say, oh, let it happen. And then they think it just does, and it does. But I think there's a line of intention, let's say. So,
for instance, the saints, many of the saints will appear in a lot of different places and people see them.
Right.
But oftentimes the saints are conscious of it, but oftentimes they aren't conscious of it. So it's like God, or whatever you want to say, appearing in the form of that saint for that person.
Right.
But the saint didn't necessarily make that intention of I'm going to go show up in front of that person.
Right. But I think we're talking about levels of evolvement. I think the more evolved saints can do that. Like some people can project themselves out of their body because they're more lucid, and other people, oh, it just happened. So from what you're saying, it seems like that. The saints just show up, oh, how did I get here? Or the expanded mind essence as it individualized can appear where it wills itself to be for whatever reason.
Because there's such a thin wall between self and self.
Yes, self and non-self and the greater self, yes. But like Jesus, many people appear there, or Mary. I think that's not like, oh, how did I get here? It's Mary. It's like there's an intention there because of the expanded soul essence of those, or like Babaji, you know, or and I think, you know, those are levels and levels of awakening of this is just how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know, I'm just guessing, but I think, yes, it's like, you know, working with the elements as the element of being, but we're seeing it from a very limited point of view from this perspective. On that level,
true,
it's levels and levels of consciousness that
true, yes,
that gain awareness, right? Because evolution is awareness. So when you're evolving spiritually, you are building the intent in harmony with the greater mind, and you become the greater mind, and you can direct the weather in that sense.
Right. But it's not your lower consciousness that's directing the weather. It's a higher consciousness, which already is higher consciousness, which is already directing the weather.
Right. Like the old story, there was a mountain, there isn't a mountain, there was a mountain. You know that story where the yoga student says he wants to move that mountain in the distance because she says we're conscious and the teacher says, okay, sit here for 20 years and stare at that mountain. So he does that. And the teacher comes back after 20 years and he says, oh, well, can you move that mountain? And the guy says, yep, but I realized that was exactly where I wanted it in the first place.
Exactly.
So it's sort of like that. It's like that. Yeah. It's levels of consciousness, right? And that's the play of existence. We're learning that to play in being, non-being, greater being, me as you and you as me, and or we are all together. No, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But yeah, well, I could have helped myself, but anyway. That's, I don't know, that's my level of understanding at this moment in consciousness. But I'm sure someone else has a greater perspective, which I'm always open to hearing about and playing.
Me too. I love greater perspectives.
But I do think we understand each other on this basic kind of spiritual realm, and that's why there's that connection, you know?
I agree.
Reflection.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. You're beautiful.
Thank you. Well, maybe we'll meet sometime.
Yeah, I'm only 3.5 hours away.
Okay, I'm here.
Thank you, everybody. I'll put all Alan's information and any other information in the links below, right?
Anything you want, yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll be in touch. Like we could do, like, if more stuff comes, we could do a series.
Yeah, we could do a Kundalini series or something.
Yeah, I would like to go and interview some people who have had the Kundalini awakening.
That would be fun.
Yeah, like a series of that.
That would be fun.
Okay.
I would like to speak of Kundalini from the perspective of the actual Kundalini awakening.
What does that mean? The actual Kundalini awakening? Like in the process of Kundalini awakening?
No, I mean where the Kundalini is actually actively aware and divinely inspired.
Yeah.
As opposed to all these practices that are put out to awaken your Kundalini lately. They
don't really work anyway, I don't think.
So
it is a natural state of, I mean, it's grace that awakens.
It's grace. It's absolutely grace, yes.
Right. And you also, okay, we can go on.
What?
You also had yours, something happened, somebody awakened, you had a Shakti.
Yeah, true. And that's why I'm so in touch with that path, because I had my Kundalini awakened that way.
Right. And it was good.
It's really, really good. It's really, really good.
And it's still awakening, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, how does your body feel? Does it feel lighter as the more Kundalini that's awakened in you?
Oh, I think yes and no, because right now I'm in a very interesting expansion process.
Why? What's happening?
I see how much I can share. Just there's a big expansion happening within me right now. So the consciousness.
Energetically?
Energetically, yes. But it's also allowing my bodily physicality to go to higher levels.
Right.
And in the process of that, I'm feeling a lot of heaviness. Not heaviness, a little bit of heaviness during the day where I feel tired, but I know I'm not tired. I might be tired. I mean,
that's the upgrade. That's what I'm feeling too, but I actually do feel tired.
I do feel tired. And then when I say, well, I probably am because I'm not getting that much sleep, but it's different. It's like, your body's going through a process.
I think that's happening globally, or at least to some people. I do actually feel that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
But a lot of pressure in the head. I'm having a lot of pressure in the head. Like I said, I had a burst eye thing. And when I asked the mother about it, she said it's just because things are expanding and I just had a little pop in the eye in the process.
Yeah, you're also releasing the heaviness of the old junk.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm becoming much more sensitive to food. Like I can't have anything with sugar. It just buzzes me completely. Or even soy. Soy I can't do either. I used to eat hamburgers. I can't eat that anymore.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't eat out much.
Oh, well, that's better.
I don't like to eat out much at restaurants, just energetically.
Yeah. No, I think that's good because you never know what they're really putting in your food. Yeah.
Well, the energy. I mean, I'll do it every once in a while, but I end up feeling lethargic and heavy. And
yes. Anyway, so yeah, we'll do more Kundalini dialogues.
Yeah. I love you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, maybe I'll see you somewhere.
Okay, so look for more, everybody.
Okay.